All right, and we are officially live. So, Rex, welcome. What a pleasure it is to have you here. Um, let's just kind of talk about how I don't even know how we got connected actually, but all I remember is we got connected and you brought me onto your channel quite a few years ago. And we did some really cool, like live remote viewing. I think we did some military bases and Antarctica and I remember you gave me some sort of picture or code or something, and you took me to the desert where those hieroglyphs were, and it was like a portal to inner earth. Like I remember that, which was so badass. And so it is such a pleasure to have you onto my channel all of these years later. And for those of you who don't know Rex Bear and the Leak Project, he is all about, I would call you a truth seeker. You are about bringing people on and declassifying information. And it can get a little dicey, as we both know, talking about the real shit that's happening on such a public network. So I really do commend you for the work that you're doing and the information that you are spreading out there to the world. So
Thank you.
welcome, Rex. And I highly recommend for everyone who really does love, conspiracies, but also, the information that they won't tell you in mainstream, please go check out the Leak Project. And we'll link his YouTube channel and stuff in this video. But today we're going to talk about some really high level, and this is why I'm calling it above top secret stuff today. We're going to cover things like, I've got a little mini list, but I'm sure we could talk for hours. The Malaysia flight, the new Google AdSense privacy policy or the new policy that they're sending out, which could be a little dicey. We're going to talk about a silent blackout event. I didn't mention this to you, but I really want to talk about the moon being potentially a recycling center. I saw you were talking about that and brought an expert on for that. We're also going to be getting into 2024 predictions and Armageddon, the end of the world. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about earthquakes and power outages and kind of what the elite are planning. Now, before we dive in, I do just want to put it out there, take it or leave it. This is not meant to be a fear-based video. This is just supposed to relay information. Please utilize your intuition on this. And not everything that you've received, Rex, from your experts and your whistleblowers is necessarily aligned to what I've channeled either. But I think it's really fascinating to look at all angles of what's happening and to kind of be in the know about, this planet and what we're going through. So welcome.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to this. I've got notes, and if we're going to get into even half of the stuff that you brought up, like let's do a rapid fire because I've
Yeah.
got about 30 plus predictions and
Okay.
forecasts. Obviously, there's never any guarantees in predictions and forecasts. If you look at my track record, I can go back to 2010, 2011 when I was blogging about a lot of stuff that's actually taking place now, stuff in the realms of artificial intelligence and singularity and nanotechnologies and just global events. It's really fascinating when I look back at some of the predictions that I made on godlike productions of all forums 10 years ago. And you brought up above top secret. That at one point in time was one of the most popular websites out there for information that was alternative above top secret. So I think that's perfect. Let's go with that.
Cool.
Where should we start? Do you want to get into what's going on in Davos? Do you want to talk about the predictions? Ashton Forbes. Let's do this. Let's do this. The most important podcast that I think I've done over the past few months with technology that is so advanced and so cutting edge that there's actually teams out there that are trying to make it look as if it's a hoax. And I'm referring to the MH370 flight. So I had a gentleman on the show named Ashton Forbes, and he has a top security clearance, not associated with the footage that he released, but he just wanted to disclose that to give him more credibility. And he released this footage that was actually public back in 2000 and like right after the Malaysia flight disappeared. This information got uploaded on YouTube by an anonymous source. and then like these videos did, and then that person basically just disappeared. But the footage, you can clearly see there's two angles. There's one that's footage from a satellite and one that's footage from an actual drone that's showing thermal imaging. Mm-hmm. And you can see this flight that appears to be on fire, and it's traveling through the clouds. There's smoke coming from behind it, and then moments later these three orbs appear out of nowhere. These orbs appear and they start circling around the plane, and then all of a sudden you see this flash and the plane disappears. And then there's other footage that shows where the drone is actually filming it, and the same thing happens, but the drone's closer. And it's the most amazing footage you've ever seen. And so this footage is released, and then there's all this disinformation and other various sources that come out. Let's take away the term disinformation. There's a bunch of new sources that come out that say, oh, we found a piece to the MH370 flight. We found new data that suggests it crashed here. Somebody that was fishing found a piece of it. And then they started showing these videos on big channels that have millions of subscribers that just came out of nowhere practically. And I wonder how that happens, folks. But anyway, so and then they're like, oh, and these supposed experts, these alleged experts are like, you know what? That is so fake. We could make that footage in 15 minutes. And they were laughing and poking fun. And like, okay, well, that was how many months ago that you were going to show us how to make the footage in 15 minutes? You haven't shown us anything. Yep. One of the arguments was that the clouds weren't moving, but you go back and you can clearly see that the clouds are moving, especially with new analysis. So I think that's one of the hottest news pieces out there right now. Now, if you follow the plane, the people that were on the plane, there were approximately a dozen and a half, I think 17 scientists that were working on technologies that are considered anti-gravity type technologies. Mm-hmm. And to have that many people on the flight like that at any given time is bizarre. You shouldn't have that many experts on one given thing on the same flight, but they did. There were lithium batteries on the flight that somehow caught fire. At the time, that was more common on planes, that these lithium batteries would catch fire. But I questioned Ashton. I said, well, that sounds like there was some type of espionage, possibly. I'm speculating here. And I kept asking him about that. And he finally said, well, we did find information of an Iranian passenger that had a fake passport that got on the plane. And I thought to myself, that's interesting. Maybe they tried to set something to where that fire was lit, and they sabotaged the plane in hopes of the plane crashing.
Okay.
But because of the people that were on the plane, it was so important that the defense contractors or the military knew that this thing was going to crash. So they sent their technology out there to save the people on the plane. And now maybe the people are living in some black site. Now, look, once again, this is pure speculation here when we're going to what happened after. But if you look at all the pieces and put everything together and you look at that footage, if they wanted the plane to crash, they wouldn't have sent out these weird orbs that made it disappear. They would have just let it crash because it was very well on its way.
Yep. I love that.
That's huge. That's a big story.
That is huge. And I love your speculations, because my biggest, like, the way that I love kind of understanding the universe is having the assumption that that did happen, right? So footage or not, like, I'm not here to debate the footage. I'm here to ask the question, why? If aliens are here, why are they here? If that flight got fucking absorbed in midair, why did that happen, right? Like, I think that that's the question that we need to be asking. So I love how you kind of have a theory out there, and it does align with the proof. So I have like a couple questions about this, and then I want to move on, because we're just planting seeds today. And once again, if people want to know more about this information, you have interviews on everything we're talking about on your channel that expand on this. So just know that today we're just kind of overviewing, we're dropping a lot of, bombs here. And there are places to expand on that information. So my question is, this guy that you interviewed, okay, So was it his video, or did he release the video, or what was his connection specifically to the event?
He became privy to this video footage somehow. I don't remember
Okay.
exactly how.
Yep.
He saw the footage and it blew him away so much that he started researching it. And he started
Okay.
diving deep to find out how legit the footage was, who
Right.
possibly uploaded the footage,
Yep.
why was that footage uploaded,
Yep.
what type of craft was used, what type of
Right.
drone was used, what type of
Okay.
satellite. So he's doing everything he can as far as technology goes to
Hmm.
figure out if, why this thing happened. And the more research he
Yep.
did into it, the more he's dug his feet into it, saying, look, this is legit. And if you remember the Manhattan Project or the Philadelphia experiments,
Hmm. Yep.
that submarine like disappears. It somehow goes into the future and then it comes back, and these people are like embedded into the walls
Yeah.
because it's just weird technology. That is what I'm picking up on. I think they refined that technology
Mm.
where they figured out a way to create these wormholes or these portals and somehow do this quantum teleportation
Yeah.
where, I mean, if you can make a giant Boeing plane disappear mid-flight, imagine the implications. That could be used for
Yes.
not only the most amazing abilities to heal the world and to save the world, but also what could that do if it fell into the wrong hands?
Absolutely. And I'm of the mindset that any sort of teleportation technologies, as well as like basically space and time bending technologies, I believe are highly monitored by organizations of extraterrestrials, because that technology is not human technology, it's reverse engineered technology. I mean, we're definitely not smart enough to create it. So, because it's their technology, I think it's being monitored by them as well. I think that there are limitations. That's just my kind of take on it. I think if we didn't have individuals or organizations in the universe to monitor that, I mean, it would be a shit show. Like the entire universe would just be anarchy, which it isn't. It's controlled chaos, you know?